Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm bringing another guide from the closed beta for Season 12 to you, and today we're going to talk about Wind Druid. Wind Druid got a spicy change in Season 12 where Twister and Tornado now reduce the cooldown of Gust, meaning that you can teleport more smoothly even before you have all of your points in Gust where the cooldown is really low, which is really cool. And brings like a Wind Druid a few more options in mapping faster. By the way, this applies also when you're proccing it indirectly, so that means when you're casting Tornadoes and Twister through Horizon's Tornado, for example, through other proc options like Innocence, it will also cause that reduction in teleport, which is a really cool aspect of it. So I wanted to bring Wind Druid today, and I wanted to show it both as a budget mapper, but also as an endgame mapper. So we'll show two sets of gear, both in Tier 1 and in Tier 3, because I really think he's a really good budget mapper, but also a really nice endgame mapper, so I wanted to show both of them. So with that said, let's get into it. I'm going to show the gear in terms of, show the skills, the attributes, and the gear. I'll show a budget mercenary, and I'll show you all the things that this budget build can do. After that, we'll talk about the endgame gear and do a demonstration for that as well. Let's get started. Wind Druid is played with mostly Twisters. It's a lot more comfortable to cast Twisters. Tornadoes are a little bit more sluggish in my opinion, so I recommend you go with the Twisters. So the synergies are very much shared. And since you are casting or proccing Twisters and Tornadoes, you'll want to max the synergies of each other anyway. You're maxing Twister, Tornado, Hurricane, and lastly Arctic Blast. These are the 4 skills you're maxing. After you're doing that, you'll also get your points in Gust. So before Battle Orders, it will be level 29, and after Battle Orders, it will be level 30. Now, if you don't teleport as much, you don't have to put as many points, but that's generally what's recommended. In Shapeshift, you don't put any points, and then in the Summoning Skill tree, you can get your Creepers, you can get Bears, or you can just dump all of your points to the Oak Sage, which is the spirit you'll be running. Generally speaking, I recommend getting the pets in this case because the extra bodies do help, and the extra sustain, especially early on, really does help, as you can see. For the attributes, you'll be putting strength and dexterity only enough to wear your gear, and the rest goes all the way to vitality. You want a solid health pool for this build, so you can go around and not feel like you're about to die at any moment. You could go with max block, and it's actually not that bad. I've tried it, but I don't recommend it necessarily with this build just because it takes so many points that your health pool will truly be really small. With that said, let's talk about the gear. In the weapon position, this is a non-negotiable, and it's Horizon's Tornado. If you can get one with +1 skills, you really hit the jackpot. Otherwise, things like faster cast rate could be really useful. In it, I have 2 life after each kill jewels, which are pretty cheap to get early on and will help you with your sustain. Generally speaking, the things that Wind Druid wants to put in the sockets are things like resistances, physical resistances, and sustain, or MF if you really don't have any use for your sockets, because you don't have any other facets that could give you more damage. In the helm, we're using Fenris. I'm using a fairly badly rolled one, or an average one I guess, because it only has 1 to Druid skills, but it does have -10 to Pierce, so not too crazy. We put 1 socket in it and have 3 life after each kill jewel inside. For the armor, I'm using a 2-socket Viper Magi with a Tal rune and a Ral rune. A true budget option. The base has 25 all res, so it's really average. The shield I'm using is Twilight's Reflection. It's a pretty it's not used often, even though I think it's very strong, and it has -10 to physical resistances, which is why we use it. Also, a 3 life after each kill jewel inside. The belt we're using is a Rax. You don't need 20 FCR on the Rax. As you can see, I'm 10 FCR over, so you don't really need a Rax at all. You could just use a normal belt, but the +1 skills is really nice. For the rings, I'm currently using Ravenfrost and Dwarfstar. Again, this is a fairly budget approach. Later we'll show a little bit more expensive rings. For the gloves, I'm using Triangles. Any 20 FCR gloves really work, but this is nice because it gives you a lot of resistances, which help you close out your total resistances. For the boots, I'm using Silkweave. During the beta, using Silkweave is almost mandatory if you need a lot of mana after each kill. It's kind of like the only option, since usually you'll get it for your slams. I think in live version of this build, you will just use either Marowak for Cannot Be Frozen, or use a Tri-Res Boots that will help you close out your resistances. For the amulet, I'm using Mara's, and again, I think during the actual season, you'll use a +4 or +5 amulet to give you as many skills to your elemental skills, so you can get your tornado to do as much damage as possible. On the swap, we have a CTA, and lastly, in the charms, we have a bunch of skillers. I have the ones that I used in my endgame version, but you can use obviously plain ones in the beginning just to get yourself started. And I have one FCR charm over here because I experimented with it before I got like different FCR options on other gear. But as you can see, the FCR charm has a lot of use for this build, since normally you don't need this slot for damage, so you're not losing any damage to put an extra 5 or 6 FCR. So I really like the FCR LCs for this build after you get all your skillers. And Torchen and Annie, of course, that this build can, by the way, farm by himself. I'll showcase a declone kill with this budget setup very soon. And yeah, that is the gear overall and the charms for this build. For the merc, I'm using a super budget merc with a Shaft Stop, a Shaco, String of Ears, Mage Fist, an Ondul's Wisdom, and a Marowak for Cannot Be Frozen. The Ondul's gives you 105 FCR, so he's basically almost at the breakpoint, the final breakpoint, and with a Mage Fist he gets to 125. It's a fairly cheap setup for the merc, and he gives you Amp, which is why you want him. Amp helps your damage a lot, even though in the final setup I actually don't use any Amp. Even though apparently that's only my preference. Alright, with all of that said, let's jump into a map and see how this build actually does. As you can see, after you bow, you want to cast your Hurricane, and you'll be teleporting and gusting, teleporting and gusting. As you can see, the gust deals quite a bit of damage. Of course, the Minions of Destructions are really tanky, so they wouldn't like die by just one of those. But yeah, Minions of Destructions are really annoying and nobody likes them, is our current opinion. Okay, as you can see, teleporting now is feeling a lot smoother on this build, now that you can teleport and cast like one Twister to kill everything. And the Twister, again, even on this relatively budgety setup, that wouldn't cost you a lot of high runes to create. Yeah, they feel really good. As you can see, outside of the Minions of Destruction, most things die in 1 or 2 Twisters. Wow, choosing Minions of Destruction for a demonstration video is always a bad idea. They always give you trouble. But yeah, and I've been really happy with how the Twisters work. We're gonna play this all the way to the boss just to showcase how it deals also with the boss of the map. And after that, we'll do a quick declone kill on this setup without changing any gear, just to showcase how powerful this build is and how flexible it is in the content that it can do. I think there's a lot of value to having mappers that can also boss on the side. At least personally, I really enjoy it. But maybe that's because I really like doing bossing content. As you can see right now, we are moving pretty smoothly within this map. If we did have a little bit more FHR, I would feel a little bit better about this build. And of course you can get more FHR, just put like a Shale Rune when you're in the budget setup. And you should be okay. A Shale Rune in your armor or in your helmet, of course. Wow, these Minions of Destruction really wreak havoc on my demonstration. The fastest times I managed to get on tier 1s with this build, with this budgety setup, were around 5 to 6 minutes which is very good for this budget, of course, in tier 1s. It couldn't go into higher tiers of maps, but that's okay, because when you're in the budget, like in the budget part of your gameplay, farming tier 1 is more efficient anyway. Yeah, let me try to move a little bit faster towards the boss, just so we can show this build killing it. Yeah, a little bear dies sometimes. The bear is just there to telestomp with you a little bit. He soaks up a little bit of the damage, and if he dies early on, I think that's really okay. Like, don't worry about resummoning him, or don't be lazy. Resummon him. He really helps you be a lot safer. Alright, we reached the boss. Let's do a quick kill. The minions of destruction feel more like bosses right now. Yeah, as you can see, we take care of him pretty easily. Not too much trouble. So I'm pretty happy with how this build functions in tier 1 maps. Again, clearing about 6 minutes with looting, if you are looting, is very, very nice for a tier 1 budget mapper. That really doesn't cost more than, like, the most expensive thing we got on this build is the CTA, and then like just having skillers and charms, pretty much. So that is a very nice build in my opinion. I really, really like it. I'll hop into a declone just to showcase like a quick kill for people who wanna see kills also on declone with it, which again I personally really like that it can do. And remember, during the closed beta, they buffed up declone, making it harder than it was in previous seasons. So the fact that it can do it with the extra life that now declone has, in my opinion, it's even more impressive. And the main thing you want to have when you're doing this declone, again, you could switch this up and have like water walks and make the life easier on yourself, or get yourself some PDR. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep the gear exactly the same, so I'm not accused of cheating. So we are going to go ahead and summon a bear, summon our oak, and of course cast our twister as well. And the way that I play this fight is I will summon a bear to kind of aggro declone for me. As you can see, declone gets a little confused sometimes when he's attacking a bear, so I'll just do something like this. As you can see, very effective. Once it's time to fight all the skeletons, you want to make sure you run away from declone. You don't want to fight near him. And if you can, summon a bear to tank the skellies, because your FHR really is very bad. And we almost got rid of them. As you can see, you are very, very nice at kiting them. Between the bear, the cold damage that you got from your hurricane. You also have a teleport, of course, which helps. I think we almost got him to the next phase. There we go. Teleport over here. As you can see, very clean first phase. The phases do get more difficult because of Druid's terrible FHR. So again, if you can get more FHR, that would be really nice. And this fight does require patience on this build, because you're not doing insane damage, of course, and they buffed up the life of declone. Something that's very cool about using summons in here to aggro declone is that if he does happen to start the lightning attack against him, then they end up like he ends up blocking in the animation in that direction for a little bit. Yeah, the way that I like to go about this often is I'll try to teleport my bear to tank in like a more effective way for me. if I can. Just make sure we stay safe. I think he's ready. He's ready to die, that is. Yeah, see? Just like for a little bit, and then he unlocks from it. Okay, there we go. Again, phase 2, very nice. It's a little slow, but again, they buffed up the HP to be somewhere in between tier 0 and tier 1. So of course it's gonna take a lot longer. But still, it can do it, which is very impressive. Oh, damn. You gotta find like a good timing to resummon the bear in a way where it actually does do some tanking for you. And I will make sure I rebow myself. It is very important. Throw a few more potions. Oh, damn. Sometimes you get a little bit unlucky with the patterns on declone. It's just a part of the life, you know? Alright, we managed to bring down the, or bring out the last skelly phase. Try and get away from this guy. Looks like he's trying to kill us. I think we're almost good. Just one more. All right. We have one last phase left. Got a few potions too. Ooh. Sorry, I was not paying attention. I apologize for my sins. For my sins and my druids. Okay, that was all painful. Yeah, the last part gets a little bit difficult, especially now with the extra life. Especially when he stands there in the corner, huh? It would be nice if he got out of that corner. It's a pretty difficult fight, but here we go. We have finished it. Whew. And now let's talk a little bit about the non-budget version of this build. I really do think it's a really cool build, so it's really worth it. I hope you guys don't mind the wait. So this was the budget version. Let's swap up the gear. And the non-budget version utilizes slightly different gear. So let's show this. And I'll get myself a new merc. The non-budget version of the gear will use an Act 3 merc. I use the Act 3 lightning merc. The Act 3 cold merc is also okay, but I like the lightning merc a little bit more.
What can I do for you?
And I would like a lightning merc, please. And the gear for the lightning merc is an Innocence, a Griffins, a Marowaks for a CBF, Exile for Defiance and for the Decrepify proc, and a Stormlash. I put 4 F runes in it so he procs it all the time, or I should say maybe more commonly. And a Pair Mage Fist for his faster cast rate breakpoint. The gear swaps for us include a better Horizons Tornado, a better Fenris, an Innocence, which is the main switch here, and a better Twilight's Reflection, and 2 skill rings. Everything else is pretty much the same. The main change here is the Innocence. Now we have an Innocence as well, meaning that when we teleport, we cast Twisters and Tornadoes. We cast Tornadoes when things are attacking our Blade Shield or when our Blade Shield comes in contact with other stuff, which is pretty cool. And it also reduces the Gust cooldown, so sometimes creating the situation where you can just teleport in succession without even having a cooldown, which is pretty cool in my opinion. I will use a token of Absolution real quick to respec my gear. I believe I need, 125 strength. We need 127 for this shield. And we need 77 dexterity. This will be okay. And the rest will go into vitality. Again, chances to block, very difficult to get proper chance to block with Druid. So unless it's super must, I usually skip it. And over here, we'll get our skills again. So Tornado, Hurricane, all the synergies, and Points and Gust. You want to have it down after Bow. You want it to be at level 29 and with Bow level 30. And for the summons, get the Oak Sage, get the Bears, and you can get the Snakes if you'd like. I personally don't really like them too much for the mapping, so I'm gonna get only the Oak Sage once you get into endgame. You can put more points into the Grizzly if you want to die less. That's also an option. Both are okay, in my opinion. Like, there's no clear preference. I'll put even 5 points here and 3 points here, just to show how much both are a good option. Okay, so now let's prep ourselves. We're over at 12k Twister damage. And again, I want to repeat, this is one of those builds that gets a lot stronger once you go into Trade Ladder and outside of the beta, and you have Slams and Desecrates. This can easily go to like 14 or 15 even, which would make this absolutely nasty. Our current breakpoint for FCR is 99, using this little faster cast rate charm to bring us to the last breakpoint, which is very satisfying, of course. And everything else is the same. So let me make sure I cast my Oak Sage and my Bear. And let's prep ourselves at tier 3 map. Okay, we've been having a lot of crashes the first couple of days in the beta. Hopefully it gets fixed soon. Let's get back to what we were doing. And okay, let's get started. So as you can see, this build, even in tier 3s, again, without all of the slams that it really wants to have, really does hold its own. The fastest we managed to get it to was to clear maps in 6 minutes, which is pretty cool for this kind of off-meta build. 6 minutes is pretty respectable. And I think it will only grow stronger once you give it all the slams that it really wants, both like the sustain slams and the plus skill slams that grant you all the damage that you want to have. You can play this build more aggressively, but be warned, is definitely like a fragile build, especially in its current form. The active merc, it does help with that kind of you know, more aggressive telestomp approach, but he doesn't leave you invulnerable. So just make sure you're aware of that when you're telestomping, and have your finger on the rejuve potion maybe, just in case. But as you can see, tier 3 map has no problem clearing, and if you have like your telestomp in higher speed like this, you'll be casting a lot of static, sundering the monsters, making them ready for your twisters. Usually I skip the events during testing and demos, just to keep things fair between different builds. I don't want one build to get preferential mapping demo because they didn't have an event. As you can see, very clean, very smooth clear over here at the Wind Druid factory. So a build that I'm personally thinking is in a very good position, both from like the budget aspect and then the end game aspect. Of course, not like a top mapper, just like a very solid mapper with an off meta kind of approach. If you really do like these like less popular builds that are not too expensive to set up, then I would say this is probably a good build for you. It's important to say that it's very active kind of build, so if you're more into... Ooh, drop the Monarch. Of course, I don't need a Monarch. I can just make my own in the beta. But yeah, if you like these kind of like active builds where you press a lot of buttons, teleport around, but also have the option to use very unorthodox kind of setups, then yeah, this is probably the build for you. Well, I think the idea generally is well understood, and I guess we can end the demonstration here. Build is very, very solid. It's very, very clean. Again, we could work on its survivability, so you could get like more safety kind of slams, like getting yourself more PDR. You could swap this Twilight's Reflection for a Storm Shield if you do like to play even safer approaches. Or if you're like in hardcore, you can go all the way and swap the Arax as well, but you will lose a breakpoint, of course, for a faster cast rate. So that is something to keep in mind. But yeah, overall, I think this is a really cool build. I hope a lot of people will try it both in Season 12 and in future seasons. And that was my Wind Druid that I wholeheartedly recommend, both in budget and in endgame. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this video or that you learned something. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to help the channel. It really does support both me and the channel in general, and lets me dish out all these guides for you. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next stream or the next video. Until then, have a good whatever you're having, and bye bye bye.